Hey there, everybody. Today is Thursday, June 4th, and we have some really good news today. The PPP Flexibility Act has passed the Senate. Before I move on, I want to ask you all to subscribe to my channel and smash that like button because I want to get this video to as many people as possible that need this information. So in this video, we're going to briefly go over the PPP Flexibility Act and what it is, just in case you don't know, and the things that you should be doing in the next couple of weeks while waiting for new guidance and new rulings if this act passes. And also we're gonna review a little bit about the taxability of the PPP loan. So the PPP Flexibility Act passed the Senate, it passed the House last week, I believe, and just last night it passed the Senate. So now it's on to the President for his signature. Now remember, it's still a bill. It hasn't been signed into law yet until the President signs it. So treat it as a bill, and it's very possible that by the time you're watching this video, it's been signed into law. Since it passed the House and the Senate, I think it's very likely that President Trump will sign it into law. And if he doesn't, you can come and slap me in the face. Okay, so what is the PPP Flexibility Act? The first big thing that this act does is it changes the covered period of the PPP loan from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. That means it gives you 24 weeks to spend the money instead of 8. And this is going to be a huge help for business owners that have had their businesses shut down during the pandemic. The next thing it covers is changing your payroll cost limitations from 75% to 60% minimum. So we're all very familiar with the 75% payroll rule, where you have to spend at least 75% of your PPP loan on payroll. But now it's changed to 60%. And Senator Marco Rubio has mentioned that in order to qualify for any forgiveness at all, you have to meet that 60% threshold. I think this was a change that was made late in the House vote. Because in my last video, when I looked at the bill, it didn't have a 60% rule. It just eliminated the 75% rule altogether. But now in the updated bill, it does have the 60% rule. So this might have been changed late in the House vote. The third thing that this bill covers is extending the time that you have to rehire or replace any employees that you laid off. So before, you had until June 30th, 2020, and now you have until December 31st, 2020. This gives people a better chance to rehire their employees so it doesn't affect their forgiveness, especially if their employees are currently taking unemployment. This I think is one of the biggest things that could help businesses, besides from changing it from the 8 weeks to 24 weeks, because there was so much conflict with employees not wanting to go back to work because they're getting this great unemployment benefit. So now giving employers until December 31st, that is great news. The fourth thing this bill changes is increasing the time that you have to pay back the loan if you don't get a portion of it forgiven. It changes that from 2 years to 5 years. So it makes this loan a little bit more manageable, because 2 years is a pretty short term, even if it's 1% interest. 5 years makes it a little bit more manageable in my opinion. But hopefully, with a good CPA, you should be able to get all of it forgiven. Now what we'll have to see if this bill will change is the self-employed compensation calculation. Because as you know, right now, self-employed individuals have a very strict calculation on how much of their PPP loan would be considered salary. Since you're self-employed, you don't technically have a W-2 salary, so there is a strict 8-week calculation that you use to calculate that. So we'll have to see if that changes with this bill. In my personal opinion and how I interpret the bill and the law, I don't think that's going to change. And I don't think it's going to change where owner employees can increase their salary just to get more of the loan forgiven. I don't think that's going to change either. But we'll just have to wait and see. So what should you do right now? Remember, it's still a bill. It's not law yet. So I would just hang tight. Act as if this has not passed yet, because it hasn't. And then when it does, you can expect there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of confusion, because this shit's changing all the time. So when it does pass, the Department of Treasury will likely issue an interim ruling that provides specific guidance for the forgiveness of the PPP, for the updated forgiveness of the PPP. You might have a lot of questions about that. Just be sure to ask your CPA or ask me in the comments below. I'll do my best to interpret the bill and to answer your questions, but if I can't, then I'll probably have to wait until the Department of Treasury issues an interim ruling. Another thing you should do is, if you are a business that has been shut down for a while and you got the PPP, don't return your loan, because this will most likely really benefit you. So just hang tight with your loan. If you had doubts about it, don't return it, keep it, and we'll move forward if or when this bill passes. And lastly, if you are about to submit a PPP forgiveness application and you're unsure about some of the expenses you're claiming on there, or unsure of what was considered salary on there, don't submit it yet, because the application will likely change, and with the increased covered period, you'll be more likely to be eligible for forgiveness given the expenses that you can cover with this loan. That's all I got on the PPP Flexibility Act. I just wanted to touch briefly on the taxability of the PPP. We've covered this before. I just want to remind you that when you get the PPP and you cover payroll costs and utilities and all that stuff with the PPP, and let's say your PPP gets forgiven, those expenses that you covered with the loan are no longer deductible. And that is written in the tax code. It's a very old tax code, but it just means that any expenses that are covered by non-taxable income, and if this PPP is forgiven, it is considered a non-taxable income. But any expenses covered by non-taxable income for a specific use, like this loan has, cannot be deductible on your taxes. Any way you look at it, any way you slice the pie, it does mean that the PPP is taxable. You know, Congress originally said that it wasn't, and then the IRS issued a reminder basically saying that, oh yes, it is taxable. So what's going on now is, last month the Senate introduced a bill called the Safeguarding Small Business Act that's supposed to change the CARES Act and make sure that any deductibility of expenses is not affected by PPP forgiveness. So basically, Senate issued a bill that will basically say, screw you IRS, these expenses will be deductible, because that was our original intent. But that bill was introduced over a month ago, and it hasn't seen any movement. It hasn't been passed by the Senate or the House or nothing. It's just been introduced. So I'm going to be watching that bill closely and update you on the changes of that. If you want to look it up yourself, it's Bill S3596, the Safeguarding Small Business Act. That's all I got for today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns in the comment section below. Please smash that like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your support. I really do look forward to getting up every morning and doing these and helping you guys out. So thank you for your support. I'll see you next time. Stay safe out there and take care.